Hey, welcome back to another week of the growth and scaling sessions. Today, we have got an awesome panel that's going to be talking with us about the importance of a good tech stack. Why is this so important? Well, a tech stack will make or break the efficiencies of your company. I have found that many companies I go into to help them with their growth and scaling strategy end up having the weakest tech stack because they've got every team using isolated systems. And when you got isolated systems and you're trying to track a lead journey or a customer journey or any kind of journey at all within your company, the technology can really make it super easy, or it can make you look like you're the most disorganized service provider in the world. And so today I've brought on two specialists who have a lot of background in technology, building tech stacks, building custom solutions, as well as another person who has a lot of experience in implementing these solutions within their own company and companies, I should say portfolio, with one of our guest speakers today. But I want to give just a quick background into this important topic because I know that everyone out there deals with technology in their business. Not everybody does it very well. So today we're going to start with our guest. Our first guest is Josh Hardman, who is a technologist maniac. And Josh, give us a little background into you, your company, and how do you help other companies?
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Todd. So my name is Josh. I'm the owner of a company called Devvco out here in Utah, and we're a software development company, and we're primarily targeting the door-to-door space, so building out custom solutions for solar, pest control, even roofing, things of that nature. But we've built for a variety of industries, ranging all the way to Web3 and kind of cryptocurrency, blockchain type stuff. So a little bit about me. I was the mascot at BYU, a university out here in Utah, and I did a lot of like breakdancing and flips and stuff back then. I was much more limber then than I am now, but that was how I was able to transition into technology. I ended up teaching the CEO of a company out here how to breakdance. I was his personal instructor for a little bit, and kind of shifted me from the business track to an internship in SQL. I was the least qualified in the world for that job and was super grateful for the opportunity and was able to just kind of dive in, and it blew my mind what you could do with tech. So I just got obsessed with it, and I've been in tech since then over the past almost 10 years, and started this company 3 years ago. And we just build custom software for companies and try to understand what pain points they have and tailor the best solutions for them.
I love it. Now, a lot of people out there are going, wait a second, back up a second. You were the mascot for a massive university. You breakdanced and did gymnastical things all over the place, which I'm proud to say I've seen you perform live.
Yeah.
And then now you're a tech, and now you do tech stuff. That's amazing.
Now I do tech stuff. Yep. From backflips to SQL, I guess.
All right. Well, that helps. That helps us give a little bit of an understanding of who you are. Our next guest comes from a very different. Taha, I'm really curious. Do you break dance? Do you do any kind of amazing things in front of crowds?
I wish as Josh, but fortunately, so I'm in Maryland, and I did my engineering and ACP and CSM. So but this company at a very, very young age in hospital. So I sing abilities into project management, and I've always been the client facing PM, and I've owned that company, and right now it's basically connecting area to North America. It's consulting when it comes to what the right my PMs are more involved, very much involved in making sure the products are in play.
Hey Taha, I think you're breaking up a little bit. Josh, is that just me or is that?
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit on my end as well. But
I think what you were saying.
Just give me a sec.
Yeah. Try. There we go. So we'll get him back here in just a second. But Josh, let's start into this. Talk to me about your experience in building custom solutions, because you work in an industry where people, they're on the doors, they're trying to establish. Really, technology can be their best friend. What kind of solutions are you developing for your types of clients right now? And how does tech stack make a difference in the way they operate their business?
Yeah, so we're building a variety of applications, but a lot of our solutions are for internal use, internal systems, or for sales reps to use while they're out in the field. And there are a lot of different factors to consider when it comes to tech stack. Whether it's going to be external and needs to be on the app store, then you're going to build in certain technologies that allow you to publish a mobile app. If it's internal, I think you have a lot of options and ways that you can reduce cost and really build it faster by building something that's web-based. And you can look into things like progressive web apps, or building in JavaScript, so you have something that can be pulled up on a mobile device or on web as well.
Right. So what you're saying is really the choice to go app versus Web3, or just keep it in a browser based versus that's one big decision you got to make. But where does it all start? What ultimately are companies trying to accomplish by implementing technology in their business?
Yeah, you implement technology to solve problems, right? So usually you want to have like an organic process that you've just run into bottlenecks with, especially with internal systems. So we've helped some clients that, you'd be surprised. Like even in some larger companies, you'd think they'd have it all figured out, but they literally are using like Post-it notes and whiteboards to keep track of things. And the CEO has the entire database just in his head. And like really, it's just a matter of like mapping all of those processes and like getting it out into like flow charts, or doing some initial design work. So in Devvco, we do what's called a design sprint, and we'll do like user interviews and try to understand what these problems are, and then create clickable prototypes, which is a screen, like a series of design screens. And we can iterate through that really quickly and create the shape that's going to solve the problems. And so once we get everything checked off, then it's like you have the blueprint to go build the application. It's just like building a house. You don't want to start by pouring concrete and just throwing 2x4s up if you don't have a blueprint in place.
Right.
But it happens with tech all the time, and it's really, really costly because you've got stuff laid in cement, now you got to break it up and redo it. So having that process is really important.
Now, Taha, I don't know about you, but I've been involved in some technology development in the past. I don't write a lot of code personally, but I've been involved in developing some of these custom solutions. And to Josh's point, jumping in and saying, "Oh, I need an app that does this," without really mapping it fully ahead of time. Have you ever dealt with that before? Because it is expensive.
Oh yeah, it is expensive.
Taha, what are your thoughts on that?
That's true. We get a lot of that, where they the first thing that it's the UI UX is going to be, and then they come to a position where the systems and everything is just going to be like, and I believe the reason for that is because saying and doing things, it's a relatively a lot of new players in the market than what they're doing.
Right.
And because of that, information is and clients come in and they happen very, very quickly, and then who does it the right way with processes, you a realistic, conservative plan, and sometimes clients don't. So yeah, we get a lot of that with like some of those things that they've heard from some of these newer startups, and I'm like, for you.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I've heard some of this as well. But yeah, you get a lot of things from different. It is a process. It is a system, and that is why project management systems are in place so that a proper plan, streamlined, and it's done in sprint. Whatever methodology project, even if it's agile, right? Like for every project, a system is a definition of plan. Every project we have a different type of flow we use. Agile, but I still, we still have like milestones in place. Let's discuss this so we can go to our second,
Right.
So that's how we kind of.
Hey Taha, it's still a bit choppy. I'm not sure if if you're on Wi-Fi or if it's cell only, or if you have a chance to hop on a Wi-Fi, it might improve a little bit. But Josh, when it comes to technology and business, one of the first things that I always look at is the CRM. I mean, a business needs sales to fuel how they move forward. And when a business fails to satisfy that first need of being able to take a lead and progress them into a sale, that is like the first and foremost foundational point of every business. I mean, you help door-to-door guys get a lead, put them in the system, run some background check, even run some solar analysis on stuff. But like, where do you see the most common mistakes that people and their CRM as you talk to new companies?
I mean, probably not having a CRM. I definitely see that quite a bit. But
definitely seen that.
Yeah. I mean, just having like a streamlined process is really important. There are a lot of different like CRM options out there, but just having a process in place, I think, is a great starting point. And when it comes to like building technology, a lot of people want to like jump the gun and start building before they have any prospects. I'm actually guilty of that myself. I started a company called TaskGrid, and we spent a year building incognito, and then we went to launch the thing with 0 customers and 0 awareness. And, like the whole like build it and they will come, we totally fell victim to that.
It doesn't work real well, does it?
And no, it doesn't. So it was a huge waste. Unfortunately, we didn't get any traction with it. Eventually just had to stop that project. But I see a lot of people coming to us that have these awesome ideas. They're like, how can I start building it? It's like, well, how many people do you have in like a pre-sign up list? Like that's really what you need to do first. Like generate the demand,
right.
Have like your CRM that's pulling all that information in. And once you have the demand, it's like sell the product as if it exists. Now you have everything ready to go to actually go create the thing and fulfill on what you're selling.
So chicken and the egg here. Is it the process that you need first before you load the software, or do you go buy some software and figure out your process to plug into it? Taha, what do you think about that?
I think for a small to mid-sized startup, I think they would, they would argue, I would choose the secondary. The type of entrepreneur depends on. Some people they have, and they too many processes can slow you down. Try new. I'm pro, and let's build. Even if it's a little bit of a delay, track what's happening and process first.
Right. I feel like that's probably a smart play. And I think for those that couldn't quite understand that, I think what you're saying, Taha, is that depending on the size of business, sometimes you don't have a great process yet. And so sometimes the software can be a roadmap of the processes you need to put in play. and then you put the processes into play in the software, and then you can kind of roll with it. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That is true, and I'm going to try to on from another
All right.
slide,
All good.
so
All
that
good.
you
You're
can
welcome back in.
this. Yeah.
Sounds good, buddy. So Josh, I agree with Taha to that degree that, there is a way that we can sometimes use. Generally, a software package that's out there has already thought through a lot of the problems that a business is going to have when trying to onboard a new client. So they try to develop a system like what you're trying to develop for the solar and door-to-door industries. You're producing something to solve their ease of client enrollment. Some companies have a process set up, some companies don't. When they don't, you provide them with some guidance. When they do, how much easier is it for you to set it up the right way for them?
It actually makes it significantly easier. If you already have a process in place, even if it's imperfect, it gives you like a framework to work around. Because now you can say, well, like what's causing 80% of your problems? It's like Pareto's law, right? The 80-20 rule.
Totally.
So like for 20% of the effort, it gives you 80% of the return. So it just lets you identify those points, and like creating, like using software to streamline those processes can be tremendously valuable.
Yeah, I think anytime you hear the word automation, some people cringe a little bit because they're like, wait, if I want to automate something, that means I got to do it the same way every time.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
The same way every time, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy when you see people who think that they can just wing it every time, and every time you got a custom proposal for your clients.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen this so many times, but when you go to build out a solution, it forces you to have clarity on what you're building, and forces you to like really think through the edge cases and create a process that works every time.
Right. Taha, let's see if your feedback is gonna ring through to everybody this time.
Yeah, let's hope you guys can hear me. I hope this is better.
It's great. Woo! Yes, we can hear you great.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in the Middle East, so I've been on this travel trip for the past 6 months. Sometimes in Austin, sometimes in Riyadh, sometimes in Dubai. So this whole 6 months have been like a Wi-Fi, struggle to get good Wi-Fi. But I hope this works now.
Musk. Elon's got to give us that satellite internet, so wherever we're at, we got
Starlink.
it. Yeah, Starlink.
He definitely does. So I'll just do like 10 seconds of like my intro, maybe if people have heard it or not. So I own a few different companies. I'm coming from an engineering background. I do have project management experience. We have a strong PMO in place at our company, and so we've been handling processes and systems in place for a very long time for small to medium-sized companies. We've scaled them. We've exited a few companies from a tech perspective. And now I'm running a company called Super Connector. And we primarily work with companies in North America and the MENA area, which is our second base is Riyadh and our first base is Austin, Texas. So we work with a lot of companies that come to us who want to set base in America and in Riyadh. And we help them and we consult them on what the best, how to kind of set up base, set up operations, set up systems. Right. So we consult them into and help them kind of fastly grow, right? So we get a lot of these questions when it comes to tech stack, processes, systems. Right. And so this is a little bit of my background. This is what I'm doing now. Apologies for not being able to, for the Wi-Fi situation, but now I'm here and happy to answer all the questions. Funny story, I was able to hear everything you guys said. But I guess on the contrary, you were unable to.
It was definitely choppy.
So I'm happy that it worked out.
We're glad you're here.
Awesome.
And I think that this is a good example, right? Tech stack and how do we go live on the internet? Like, this is a tech problem that we all deal with. It works great when all the pieces are working right, but when it doesn't, it kind of sucks. And this is a perfect example of every business. When we build processes, and we try and build a system to get things to work the right way for our clients, it's embarrassing. It doesn't feel good when your tech sucks. And you know, I have a podcast, for example, and initially it was sending so many reminders to my guests that some of them got to the podcast and they were kind of annoyed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm overusing my tech. You know, like you can't, you got to know. And Josh, how do we know when our tech is working right or not? Who do you ask?
That's a good question. I think it's subjective because everyone's experience is going to be different. But
True.
It's also always a work in progress. Like it should always be getting better as you go.
Agreed. And who gives you the feedback? Who should you be listening to the most, Taha?
I mean,
So we usually build products in an XP model, which means that whenever we build software or anything, we have someone else test it at the same time in parallel. So
Right.
whenever you have extreme programming, so you can take the same system of extreme programming and literally like embed that in everyone else's brain in the company. So it can be sales, it can be marketing. We have this rule in our company that anyone can come back with feedback
Yeah.
if they feel like there's a problem. So our engineers, our development team is very open to anyone emailing saying, hey, I caught this, right? And
Right.
we encourage that. So we encourage mistakes and we encourage people, pinpointing what can be better, what can be made better so that we're able to fix that faster.
Totally.
So
love that.
that allows for kind of faster growth, and that also allows for the entire team kind of, the engineers stay on their toes then because they're like, hey, I don't want this social media manager coming back to me
Right.
and pinpointing this little unique thing. So I think once you encourage a safe environment where people feel like they're not going to lose their jobs because they made that
Right.
like one mistake, that allows for faster processes, and it also allows for a better system in place. So I've kind of brought XP and
Yeah.
then embedded that into like the different elements of our day to day.
Now, Josh brought up an interesting point, Taha, and I'd love both of you to kind of comment on this. Sometimes it's easy as a developer or as the business owner. Like if I was Josh's client and Josh built me this awesome custom CRM tool for me to use for my sales guys, it's easy to have a knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh my gosh, this guy didn't like what we set up. This one person who's really loud doesn't like it. How do you know when to like fix that thing or see what's your process of making sure that this is a good change to fix?
That's okay. That's a great question. We get feedback from everyone. I think everyone's voice should be heard. But really what matters most is the end user. If something isn't intuitive, then that's something that would be really high priority. So we do with our clients when we're building out these custom CRM solutions is we have a feedback system where people can submit features or bugs, and it goes into our ClickUp board, and our product team is able to review that with our project manager and designer, and we go through more of these like design sprints and these iteration cycles where we're going to sit down and look through all these issues, talk with the investment team or like the executive team, and all get in on the same page and prioritize those features and then design good solutions for them and loop those people back in that submitted those features and say, well, what about this? And what about this? So again, we're designing first to solve the problem, and then we're building. So it's always this chain or the cycle of iterative improvements.
What about you, Taha? How do you deal with multiple people yelling and screaming that they want this thing or the other? How do you deal with that?
So I think at this point, you have to go with this. This is my perspective. I think if you have a strong project manager, he's your core, right? There has to be a point where you at least let one person who's experienced. You have to listen to that one person that has that that experience of doing lots and lots of projects. Because if you constantly have too many people interfering, you're going to always go out of scope, and the project will cost you way more than you're getting paid for. So I think a project manager with extremely high emotional intelligence will be able to pick up on those small things that the client will not particularly say, but they will facilitate in the small, in the nods and like, I don't really like this, because not all the time will you have a client who knows exactly what they want, right?
Yeah.
It's very rare that people are like, I want this, right? 80% of the people that come on board,
Right.
their vision, their dreams, their concepts will change throughout, right? And it's good to be agile. I always say that, but sometimes the budget is not in place with the agility of the project. So you have to kind of sometimes say, this is out of scope. I'm the project manager. I believe this is the right route. Please, let's stick to the scope and let my team finish this for you. And then let's have that conversation. So I always go back to my project manager and I'm like, listen, use your EQ and then facilitate, and then we will stand behind you. So I think that human element has to come in.
What do they call it? Scope creep, and those who abuse it are creeps, right? And that's kind of. I think we've all dealt with that before. As in my role right now, when I go into a business, one of the first things that we do, we try to help people build the rev ops, right? Like a lot of companies will launch, they get going, they've got a good solid product, and everything is founder driven at first, right? And the founder can drive anything. Like I think both of you guys can agree that a good founder can kind of push any initiative and it'll somehow work its way out. But then as the company starts to grow and you get a sales team and you get a marketing team and you get a product team and you get a customer service department, they all kind of develop their own weird subculture within your company. And once that starts to happen, you've got like the marketing guys are using one CRM, the sales guys are using a totally different CRM, and then you've got like all these people using different tools, and it just confuses the client. Like the end user, the lead, opts in through this one thing, and then they get a new chance to opt into. I mean, it's just a mess. How do you guys help and coach companies who are dealing with way too much SaaS and they got way too many products that they're juggling within the company? How do you kind of help them solve this stupid problem they're
in? So for me, I was lucky enough to consult a company that was going for growth from small to mid-size.
Yeah.
And it was a 3-month contract. I can't contractually legally tell you the name of the company.
That's okay.
I wish I could, because I love the company. It's phenomenal. But I think I'm the HIPAA compliancy comes into play over here.
Gotcha.
But there was a specific segment where the company just saw a boom, right? And with the fantastic revenue increase and everything, the clients, the tech wasn't ready for like this boom of clients coming in, and the tech was kind of coming into place where they were like, Taha, can we have this, right? The sales teams would say, I want all of these things coming into play. And you would have the tech team saying, hey, we can't do this. Our product backlog is so backed. We cannot facilitate these changes. So a sales guy will always try to facilitate and increase, increase the revenue, increase the growth. And so we had to go back to the sales team and say, listen, don't sell more. Like we cannot facilitate these changes. We need you to be realistic, and please don't say yes to every change. So the answer for the sales team was, let us take your feedback. We'll have to go back to the tech team, discuss with them, and see if this can be solved. The problem that happened here was that the clients were so used to such amazing customer service that they just thought this was going to happen, right? Because as a small company,
every change you could ever want will just happen. It's okay, no extra charge.
Yeah, and then once you go from small to mid-size with like the stronger PMs coming into place, we were like, we're not facilitating these changes because we're a bigger company now. So I think this was a learning curve for me, because you still have to make the clients happy. And in the culture, it's already embedded in that we'll do everything and anything. And the sales guys, how do they increase their, how do they make more sales now, because we're telling them to stop? And then the product team is like, we don't want any changes. So we solve the problem by honestly, like having to sit down with, like, we had to bring in other PMs who had to have conversations with the clients telling them that and honesty, I always say this, sometimes being honest is the best version of running your business.
Right.
So we had to go back to them, get on call and say, hey, we need 3 months to hire more people, to facilitate some of these changes. We don't want to lose you. We really respect what, your opinion. We want to facilitate.
Yeah.
But at this moment, if we do all these changes, the product will not work. So please give us 3 months to run the product like it is. And after 3 months, we should be able to, so we went we need to say it like it is route. And I totally, I think sometimes saying it like it is, the client likes honesty. And trust me, if your product is good, people are workable. They want to stay with, I still do believe, even though, business is more relationship based. And if you focus on that relationship angle of it, you're still able to kind of maneuver these bottlenecks in a more, in a smoother way.
Now, Josh, as you deal with product scope getting out of control, how do you set the right expectation for what the software solution is actually going to solve for them? What do you do?
Yeah, scope creep is always a challenge in virtually every project, and it happens because, like, the client most of the time is not super technical, and on the dev side, it's like, everything that's going into it, and you're like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. And so setting realistic expectations as you go is really important, and just having like constant checkups. So if you have a deadline and you have a scope of work in place, when you're having these discussions, you also don't want to tell the client like, hey, let's not think outside of the scope, right? Like we're trying to build something that's going to be awesome for them. So I want them to like think about the future and come up with awesome ideas. And we just have to, like, for every feature that they want to bring in, it's like, do we want to do this now or do we want to do this later? If they want to do it now, then something has to give in terms of scope, right? So it's going to push back the deadline. It's going to incur additional costs with like change orders, but we're able to track that in a way that we can introduce new SOWs, and it gives them flexibility in being able to add scope. But it always has to, like, something has to give in terms of budget. And I think we've done a pretty good job of managing those expectations, and just managing different phases of the project. And we want to highlight the key objectives. So I think it's also helpful to address it in a separate like SOW, because it forces the client to really think, like, if we have to pay extra money for these features that we want, like, which ones really matter, right? Which ones are going to move the needle the most? So it kind of puts the ball in their court to identify what really matters the most.
Right. Well, I love both those comments, and I've got to say, guys, that as we, I am not a developer like you guys both are. I don't have the back end experience that you guys both have, but I will tell you that almost every company I work with, they have tech problems. They always have tech stack problems. They're always trying to do too many things with too little solutions. Like, the solutions are always disconnected and discombobulated. And so just in terms of my recommendation to anyone watching this and anyone listening in on this live, you have to know that these people, specialists like Taha and Josh, who know how to work tech, you really need to reach out to people like these. And when you reach out to these guys, their LinkedIn profiles are connected to this live. You need to understand that as you grow your business, you can't just work it off a Google Doc. You can't just work it from a Google Sheet. If you want to grow and scale, you absolutely need technical solutions that work for you and that are easy for your clients. So if you've got a hard client onboarding procedure, guess what? You may be able to sell till the cows come home, but the cows are never coming into the stall. They just aren't coming into your business the right way. So think about your sales flow. Think about your onboarding. Think about your client success. All three of those huge factors of your business can be managed with good tech solutions. But if they're not good tech solutions, you're kind of screwed. So any closing thoughts, you guys, on what you recommend to people out there trying to figure out how to grow and scale their operations with technology?
Yeah, I'd just like to add that within tech, I mean, you have off-the-shelf software solutions.
Yeah.
There's kind of middle ground with no code or low code solutions. And then you have like full custom build. So we at Devvco, we focus primarily on full custom build, but we do have some experience with low and no code solutions as well. And oftentimes I'll have someone that comes to us wanting to build some internal system, and I'll actually point them in the direction of like Airtable or like, Bubble or some of these tools where they'd be able to do it in a much more cost-effective way.
Right.
And just streamline the process without having to, go drop $500,000 on building a system. It may not be necessary. So it depends on your objectives. And that's something that we're always, available to talk through. Like, we just want to point people in the right direction and provide the most value, whether we're building a custom software or not. Because I know the tech landscape is just complicated, especially if you don't come from this background, and it's overwhelming. But there's so many tools out there. It's just kind of a matter of finding what's going to solve your problems and streamline your processes in the most cost-effective way. If you're building for customers, there are all these different priorities to take into consideration. So
love it. Thank you, Josh. Taha, what do you got to add to that?
Sure. So from my side, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Yep. I hear you great.
So from my side, it's more about I think same as what Josh said. It's important to not jump to a custom software, all the time. Sometimes you have a solution which is the right fit for you, and especially it depends on like how much money you're trying to spend and what you're trying to make. Is it a smaller MVP, and will the vision change? So for startups that come to us, they come wanting an app, and I'm like, listen, just make a website, right? Test it out.
Yeah.
And then see if you get, and they're like, why do you not want our business? And the way we grow is when companies grow, right? So I always give them the right solution for them. And sometimes they come for these massive custom softwares, and I'm like, guys, I don't think you need this. I think you need a smaller solution. Let's start with this. If you grow, let us know. We can build out a custom software, because people think it's cheap, but it really isn't. So then it's good to just be realistic. And I don't think there's anything wrong in going for already built tools and just kind of starting off that way, testing out your product, and then build out bigger. Because sometimes pre-seed founders, they come in and they want to build this massive operations, and I'm like, your vision will change 30 times. I'd rather just build something, something easy, and then we can build again once you've tested it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, pre-seeds tend to fall into that trap, don't they? Oh, this is gonna be the best thing ever, and then like a week later, it's something totally different.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, I appreciate the conversation we've had. I know that for those watching, this is a huge issue, and when we try to work with clients who don't have good tech solutions, I find that they have a harder time growing and scaling. Those that have launched and have a company that's already working, maybe you've raised a round of seed funding, maybe you're on a Series A. It's time to start thinking about the bigger permanent solutions that you need for your company. And I encourage you to reach out to both of these guys for solutions. I am not a solution provider in that area, but I'm a problem seer. I love to see and point out where your problems are in your tech stack, and then advise you to go talk to someone who can fix that knows your industry, knows what your customers need. Because I'm almost willing to bet that 95% of the time, you may think you have the most custom needs in the world, but there are solutions existing out there that can help you get down the path, probably 90% of the way there. And then you need to integrate. So this has been a great discussion, guys. Thanks so much for your time today. And please, please, please connect and follow these two gentlemen and their businesses on LinkedIn or on Facebook or wherever they're present. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next session of the Growth and Scaling Sessions. Thanks for being here, guys.
Hey, thanks so much, guys.